Hi, welcome to Medicoria. Do like, comment, subscribe, turn on your notifications and share with your friends. In our previous video, we discussed how H. pylori is transmitted via the oral route. In today's video, we're going to talk about the spread of the H. pylori infection in a broader perspective. That is through the other very important route. And we're also going to cover the prevention of the H. pylori infection. I also need us to remember or to know that as we discuss this in relation to H. pylori, the same modes of spread and the same modes of prevention also apply to a variety of other organisms that are spread via the same routes. So in the previous video, we agreed that H. pylori can be spread via the oral route, that is through a kiss, or via sharing cutlery, or sharing food, and let's say you're with your lover and she takes a bite and then you also take a bite of the apple, or other means of oral spread. In today's video, we are going to focus more on the fecal-oral route of the spread of H. pylori. Now, when I speak of the fecal-oral route, someone might tend to think that they have to eat fecal matter in order to contract H. pylori via this route. But I would like to inform you that it's actually much broader than this. Actually, I don't think you could find anyone eating shit one of these days, but then in some sort of indirect way, you find yourself eating fecal matter. Let's start to illustrate this with a simple story. So we have a gentleman, Mr. Umpokoloko, who uses his toilet. So after Mr. Umpokoloko has used the toilet, he forgets to wash his hands. Or perhaps, let's say he didn't really take a dump, but maybe perhaps after taking a dump, he perhaps even washed his hands, but then later on during the day, his butt starts to itch and then he goes down there to scratch and then doesn't wash his hands after that. So Mr. Umpokoloko is going to go out there and contaminate a lot of surfaces. In the morning as he's driving off to work, he's going to contaminate the door handle of his car, and from there someone else can pick up the germs. Mr. Umpokoloko will also pass by the library and contaminate a few books and shelves and tables with the germs. And he's going to go to every other public place, and everything he literally touches is going to be contaminated with these organisms. So talk about banisters, talk about anything that Mr. Umpokoloko interacts with his unsafe hands is actually going to be contaminated with whatever germ he's carrying. And in this case, we're interested in H. pylori. Mr. Umpokoloko is also going to walk through several doors, so he's going to be contaminating a lot of door handles with H. pylori or another organism that is transmitted via the same route. And from all the surfaces, still you can pick up the germs when you walk through the same door and then touch the same door handle. So by now we're actually realizing that you don't have to have someone very close to you infected with H. pylori, but you can actually pick up this bacterium from a lot of public places. Mr. Umpokoloko is also going to go to office or perhaps interact with his friends elsewhere. So literally everything around him is going to get contaminated. He's going to contaminate their hands, he's going to contaminate pens, he's going to contaminate phones, he's going to contaminate tablets, calculators, papers, the table itself, cups, and everything you see in this picture can potentially be contaminated by Mr. Umpokoloko. So far, we appreciate that the contamination is going through fingers, but it's another important means because we have these other friends of ours everywhere we live, the houseflies. So every other surface that Mr. Umpokoloko has touched, including the toilet, if they can get into the toilet or the latrine where he took his dump, and they interact with that environment. As you can see, it's very hairy. It's going to carry these germs on those hairs in its body, and then it's going to fly around putting these germs everywhere. If it lands on your food, if it lands in your drink, and all sorts of things. So in this image you can quite appreciate that there are two important means by which this germ is spread. One, which is very, very important, is that you can get these germs via your fingers from public places, from poor toilet hygiene, from all contaminated surfaces by Mr. Mpokoloco. And on the left hand side, you can see that we have the fly, which is also a very important means of transmission. So, and these flies can actually carry these germs long distances. In other words, even if Mr. Mpokoloco contaminated the surface, which is far away from your location, this fly could pick up the germs and fly them all the way to your location. But of course, for these germs to get into our bodies, they cannot go through the skin on your fingers. But the final stage in this case is that these germs through your fingers or through the flies find their way into the food or your water or other drinks that you're going to take. This leads us to the famous 4 F's of fecal-oral transmission. The first F standing for feces, that is fecal matter. Some people call it shit. The second F standing for flies, and then the third standing for fingers. The last F standing for food. In which case we have both solid food and then the drinks and water. So ultimately, if your fingers are contaminated, you're going to, especially if you do not wash them after getting contaminated, you're going to perhaps buy something, a piece of cake or a cookie, or perhaps the cookie you bought is already contaminated by the chef who has poor hand hygiene. And ultimately, you're going to get this organism into your digestive tract, and that's how it's going to cause you disease. Alternatively, you might just be having some serious creative thinking going on, and then you stick this contaminated pen into your mouth, or perhaps your fingers. Some people stick fingers into their mouth, and if this finger is not washed, you infect yourself with H. pylori or some other germ with which it's contaminated. The worst case scenario, of course, is if you kiss someone's contaminated butt. So that's what we can say about the fecal-oral transmission. So now let's talk about how we are going to prevent getting infected by H. pylori and other germs that we acquire via the oral route and via the fecal-oral route. One thing I need to stress here is that this needs both individual effort as well as combined effort, okay? So because if we do not have a combined effort, if you're trying this thing alone and then everyone else is not doing it, remember the houseflies can carry it from wherever they get it and then bring it to you. So it's important that individuals and governments and different authorities, combine efforts to prevent all these sorts of hygienic diseases. Yeah, from the first mode of transmission, that is the oral route, obviously you would want to avoid kissing people unnecessarily. You would want to avoid sharing cutlery, avoid, biting apples together and things of the sort. Anything that involves swapping of saliva, you would want to avoid that. And then make sure you dispose of your waste appropriately. In some communities, people still, defecate in open places, and that way, this fecal matter can get washed down into the water bodies. And in which case, some communities actually get water directly from these sources. And when it's left in the open just like that, houseflies can, come pick up the germs and carry them all the way to someone's food or someone's water or something like that. So you want to make sure that you dispose of your waste in the correct manner, in a pit latrine, or in a flush waterborne toilet, And then after you've used your toilet or your pit latrine, be sure to put that lid over the toilet, keep it covered. Because if you leave it exposed, houseflies can come, interact with the environment there and then carry the germs all the way out. So if you have a waterborne toilet, make sure it's covered after use. Or if you use a pit latrine, try to get a lid for it and then cover it all the time. And then importantly, you need to wash your hands as often as possible every time you interact with a lot of public surfaces. You need to wash your hands every time you use the toilet. You need to wash your hands every time you're going to cook something. You need to wash your hands every time you're going to eat. You need to wash your hands. Wash your hands as often as possible. If you observe this sort of hygiene, you can prevent over 80% of the infectious diseases. And then we would want to clear the infection or the contamination from the different public surfaces. So it's good that regularly they get cleaned or disinfected, such that even if the houseflies interact with these surfaces, they do not have any germs to pick and carry elsewhere. Alternatively, you might want to open a battle against the houseflies, eliminate them, using insecticides or using traps and things of the sort. Another important step that you can take, because we mentioned that H. pylori can contaminate your food, can contaminate your water. So it's important that whatever you eat is well cooked, okay? Because H. pylori cannot stand heat. So when you cook your food very well, you kill the H. pylori even if it's contaminated. Likewise, when you boil your water very well and then you drink only safe water, you make yourself safe from H. pylori. And then lastly, if you are infected with H. pylori, remember you are the individual who is carrying these germs around and contaminating every other place with them. So if you are infected, it's important that you get treatment for the infection and eradicate H. pylori from your body, such that your fecal matter is sort of safe, not as such, but at least you don't carry H. pylori around and contaminating every other surface. So once you're diagnosed with an H. pylori infection, you need to get treated and comply with your treatment such that the bacterium is completely eradicated or eliminated in your body. Yes, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching till the end. If you enjoyed this video, do smash that like button and help us grow. And if you do not want to miss on similar videos in the near future, do simply subscribe by clicking on the logo of Medicoria that you can see at the center of your screen. And also don't forget to turn on notifications such that every time we release a new video, you get notified and you do not miss out. And if you feel that this information could benefit someone else, please show some love by sharing with them. And I would be very happy to receive feedback from you about this video, and in case you have any further questions about this particular topic or any other topic, feel free to leave a comment in the comment box below or to send me an email on medicoria@gmail.com. I'd really appreciate that. Otherwise, thank you so much and see you in the next video.